I have the pleasure of introducing our speaker today. Reverend Jeff Hargis is a heart-centered minister. He's dedicated to guiding others on the journey of spiritual awakening and wholeness. Blending metaphysical insight with real-life wisdom, his teachings explore the intersection of humanity and divinity with humility, compassion, and unconditional love. And don't be embarrassed. I know that's probably really true. Whether offering a Sunday message, leading a ceremony, or teaching an informative class, Reverend Jeff invites others to remember their true nature and to live from the inside out. His ministry is rooted in authenticity, inclusion, and the sacred power of presence as we welcome Reverend Jeff.
Well, hang on. Okay. Here I am. I don't think I need a mic, but we're going to use one anyway. So that song is really, I love that song. I think it's a masterpiece. And when I was thinking about it, I was putting together this message, the idea around the gravity and pulling us in. So I think that song is originally for, a significant other or a boyfriend or something like that, but it really works well if you juxtapose it into the idea around love and that being the gravity that pulls us in. So thank you very much for having me here. Can I assume there's typically more people here? And here's what I want you to know about that. I have learned a long ago that my ministry is about showing up to whoever comes. So if there is any discomfort, it's not mine. So please know that I prepared this service, this message, just for you. Okay.
Thank you.
What's that? Oh, I know. I'm familiar with summertime, and I don't take anything personally. That is for sure. I also want to welcome those of you that are online, assuming there might be some online. It is great to have you here, and thank you for joining us. And it is truly an honor to be here in Scottsdale. I actually have a connection here beyond those of you that I know. Jim, I know from way back when. He's actually a friend of my brother's. So seeing him here, I was like, oh my God, that's wild. There's two worlds colliding. I didn't know you were in this world of New Thought. So it is great to see you and everybody else. You've welcomed me very, very nicely. So thank you. So I'm going to begin with a question, and that is, what if the most powerful force on the universe is love? I know it's not much of a stretch, but what if the most powerful force in the universe is love? And what if space and time and science have this together, kind of have this dance with the divine, and it is interweaved with something that is even that much greater? Well, today, we're going to go on a journey together. We are going to be going not only into the distant galaxies, but we are also going to go into the heart of consciousness itself. And we're going to be doing that through the platform of this amazing movie called Interstellar. Has anybody seen it yet? Nobody is. Jim, you've seen it? Okay, yeah, so same here. So I saw it in 2017 when it just came out. And I was like, meh, it's a good movie. But then I started putting this message together, and I'm like, oh my God, this is an amazing movie. I don't know where I missed it the first time that I saw it, that it is such it is a profound metaphysical and spiritual connection that very much falls in line with what you guys have been viewing this month. So I'm thrilled to have seen it again and to get a different perspective on it. So the synopsis is like this. In a near future Earth suffering from an environmental collapse, former NASA pilot Cooper, who's played by Matthew McConaughey, is recruited to travel through a wormhole to find a new habitable planet. And he leaves behind his daughter, Murph, whose relationship with him is strained because of this departure. And he is joined with a crew that goes through that time and space together, and they face some massive challenges at the same time. And so what I got from all of this movie that I saw is that there was three kind of shining ideas that were coming forth in it. And the first is that that love is the gravity that pulls us home. The second one is that we are more than time bound um, beings, and that nothing is in this, although it is our human experience of time, it is not the truth of who we are. And then finally, that faith is that bridge or that mechanism that brings us into the divine or allows us to experience a manifestation in our lives. And so I'm going to rephrase again sort of the question that I started with earlier today. I always know when I try to assume control that things go south. What do you think, Jim? Can you advance me one slide? Nope. Okay, I'm just going to read. I'm just going to read. Okay, I feel like I have control. But I don't see a quote here. The quote is, or the question that I'm asking once again, or rephrasing is, what if love is more than a feeling? What if it's a force like gravity that draws us not only toward one another, but toward our truest, highest self? And so I've brought some clips with me today, and this first one that we're going to see is it's quite a bit into the movie. I think like an hour and a half has gone by, so it's been developed a lot. But I think this clip that is shown, this first clip, is kind of where everything starts to unfold in this movie, especially in kind of a spiritual connection or a metaphysical way. And so what it shows is Dr. Brandt, who's played by Anne Hathaway, and it's kind of a dialogue that she's having with Cooper. And in and through the calculations and all the things that it takes, scientific things that it takes to do space travel, she comes with this realization that is very, very spiritual.
Isn't something we invented. It's observable, powerful.
She's talking about love.
It has to mean something.
Love has meaning, yes. Social utility, social bonding, child rearing.
We love people who have died. Where's the social utility in that?
None.
Maybe it means something more, something we can't yet understand. Maybe it's some evidence, some artifact of a higher dimension that we can't consciously perceive. I'm drawn across the universe to someone I haven't seen in a decade, who I know is probably dead. Love is the one thing we're capable of perceiving that transcends dimensions of time and space.
And so that is her hypothesis. She sets forth that love is much more than a feeling. It is that force, that power in the universe that draws us in. And so I think it is. I love the idea that what I heard at least once in the movie was around the comparison of gravity and love, because gravity in and of itself is that force, is that magnetism, is that draw that we can actually feel in our human bodies. And it's measurable somewhat. And love, although love isn't necessarily as measurable, we know it from that place right here. We can feel it. It's not necessary for us to explain it or to learn it. It's something that we know deep here within our hearts, within our very knowing, and it has that same attraction, I think, that gravity does. So I really appreciate that. And so just as the sun, the mass of the sun holds those planets in orbit, so too does divine love hold that guidance for us in our lives. Gravity doesn't chain a planet to the sun. It allows it to move freely about, rotating, wobbling, and being just in orbit. And yet it is still always connected by that divine source, or by the sun, the mass of the sun. And then divine love, uh, similarly, it asks us, tells us to go explore, go journey out, go wander, go ask the tough questions. I will always be here during that time. I think as I was putting this together, I kept thinking of the biblical story, the prodigal son. It's a biblical story, so hang on. It is also a very metaphysical story as well, as much of the stories in the Bible are. But it starts with the son who wants to sow his wild oats, and he decides to leave his home and his father with the inheritance. He just got his inheritance early, so he decided to leave and go a little nuts. And so he does just that. He squanders all of the money that he has, and there comes a point where he's lost. He loses his way. He loses his way physically and emotionally and spiritually. And so at a certain point in this journey that he's on, he decides there must be something more, and he feels that pull of home coming to him. And it's not so much that physical location of home as much as it is that feeling of love and belonging and connection that he's now longing for. And so he starts heading back. Starts the journey of heading back. And during that, he humbly thinks to himself that I'm not going to go, stay in the house. I don't need to stay in the house. I could sleep out in the barn with the farm animals, and that will be just fine. But what happens is he gets over the crest of a hill to where he can see his home. And his father, in the same turn, can see him in the distance. And here's just the beauty of this story, is that instead of just standing there waiting for his son to come in, he runs towards his son. He runs and sprints and embraces him and doesn't ask him questions. He doesn't give shame or guilt to any of what he had done. He just welcomed him with unconditional love. And that is the absolute metaphor of the Father or God or of love, that it is always there. It is always present. And so just as, where am I now? So love doesn't just pull us home. There's more to love than just that, because it pulls us beyond time itself. Because if love is the gravity holding our lives in alignment, then it must exist outside of ticking clocks and calendars. It's not bound by the past or the future. It just is. And that brings me to the next idea, or the next question leading to the next idea. And that is, what if we too are more than time-bound beings? What if our soul lives in the realm where all moments, past, present, and future, are happening now? So there is what is called a tesseract. And I've got a little GIF here that shows, or that animates a tesseract. And so here's what that is. It is from geometry. It is a 4-dimensional hypercube that is analogous to a 2-dimensional square and a 3-dimensional cube. And it's not really important that you understand how this works, but just to understand that in the movie, the tesseract is an interdimensional construct where time is no longer linear, but it is experienced all at once. And for Cooper, that becomes a place where he can interact with multiple moments in his daughter Murph's life, and in her life simultaneously in one. And so this clip begins where Cooper is just entering into the tesseract itself.
No, 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 no! Mark! Mark! No, no! Ah! Ah!
So the frustration with with McConaughey's character is that he is witnessing his daughter in different time places, but he can't yet connect with her anyway. Although he's trying to, he can't quite connect with her yet. So he's seeing Murph in different time and different time zones or different places in her life. And this is what it brings to me is this metaphor that our prayers and our intentions are like a spiritual tesseract, in that when we enter into an intention or a prayer, we are creating these ripples in consciousness. We're creating these ripples in the law itself that will, in divine time, reach our intended purpose. And so, what I thought about when I was thinking about this is that next month is the anniversary of Hurricane Katrina hitting the Gulf, and it was a very significant thing for me. I was still here in Arizona, but I remember. It was during a time that I was just being introduced to New Thought. I was going to a center, and I was right in the middle of a foundations class that I was like halfway through it. And I remember that my intention when I got into that foundations class was about healing my relationship with my father. And so I was doing some work around that. We'll put that in our pocket and hold on to it for a second. So when Hurricane Katrina hit, I remember watching it on television and being so frustrated because it seemed like there were these people on their roofs and there were helicopters taking videos, but it appeared like nobody was helping them. They even had these signs on their roofs, especially the lower Ninth Ward. It was just totally flooded and just rooftops were sticking out. And so it was frustrating for me to sit there and watch it and go, what is going on? Why aren't they helping them? And so then that still small voice, or maybe even a little louder than that, came to me and it said, well, why don't you get off your chair, off your ass, and go serve? Go serve them. Go there and help out yourself. So it started this process of intention and prayer that I stepped into also as part of that foundations class. That this is what I want to do. I really want to be there. And what I found is that a lot of time had expired. I didn't just say a prayer and it didn't just unfold and happen. It felt like maybe about a year or a year and a half had gone by, but yet I was still holding that place of faith, knowing that something was going to make itself available. So fast forward, and my father calls me. And he says he wanted to talk about The Secret. It had just come out at that time, and he wanted to talk about it because he knew that I was in the philosophy and it was relevant to me. But during our talk, I asked him what he was up to, and he said, "Well, the Unitarian church I belong to is gearing up to go to New Orleans to do service work." And I'm just getting goosebumps right now thinking about it. And I was like, "Oh my God, Dad, can I go with you?" And that started the whole thing unfolding for me. And so my point of that is that I had seen with and put forth my intention of going. I even, I asked my mom to sponsor me, and she was a hard no. I went to our center, New Vision Center, and said, "Would you guys be interested in that?" And it just didn't align with the center. But finally, this came forth and revealed itself to me. And so it is a wonderful story for me in that not only was there this initial intention that I had, but there was something deeper that was going on that the divine or the source had intended for me to do, and that was my connection with my father. And I was there. I ended up going there three times in 3 years, and every time I was meeting with my father, and we discovered this way to communicate with each other because we're both handyman, but we suck at communicating, but we found this language that we can communicate with each other, and so it started this process of healing for me. We didn't address any issues, and I don't know if there were specific issues to address. There was just a connection that took place that I hadn't considered, but that the divine had some intention into. So that leads me to my last point, and that is around faith, and the faith of faith being that bridge that directs us into those intentions that we have. In the movie, there is an intention with Cooper's daughter Murph. From the moment that they discovered that the earth was in trouble, she began to set an intention and was passionate about figuring out scientifically what was causing the issues with earth environmentally and how to rectify those. And so she had set this intention, but until love entered that equation, nothing happened. So when love entered the equation, that's when it all started expanding and ideas came forth. The next clip that I have is Cooper is still in that tesseract, but he finds a means by which to connect, and it is through both of their love for each other. So let's watch that.
Roger, Morse is dot, dash, dot.
It's traditional.
Did it work?
I think it might have.
How do you know?
Because the bulk beams are closing the Tesseract.
I thought you get it yet, Tars. They're not beings. They're us. What I've been doing for Murph, they're doing for me. For all of us.
Cooper, people couldn't build this.
No, not yet. One day. Not you and me, but a people. A civilization that's evolved past the 4 dimensions we know.
So the Tesseract collapsed as soon as everything kind of fell into alignment. But the point here is around Murph's and Cooper's faith of not only finding the equation, which is what Cooper was sending forth, or ideas around the equation that Murph later developed, but it was all in that faith. And whenever I think about faith, it is always something that we work through in the unknown, that we work through with that confidence that everything is in perfect alignment. And I always think of a labyrinth when I think about faith. That you all know what a labyrinth is, right? So when we are walking that labyrinth, if we stop and look at the whole picture of it, it can be overwhelming because it's so huge. It's just this big, giant maze, it looks like. But if we actually look directly in front of us and take one step at a time through that, even though we can't see the whole picture, we end up in the middle. And so that is what faith is to me. I always think in that direction. So love isn't just a feeling. It is a force that pulls us home at all times. It is always there. We simply need to open up to it, to discover it. And that we are absolutely more than time-bound beings. Time is just a human construct, and we are much, much more than that. At our souls, there is no linear progression. There is that oneness that comes forth, and it is through this faith that we guide ourselves in and through some of the what appear to be journeys and challenges and conflicts. And when we can take a step back and look just one step before us and know that we are being guided into that center point of the labyrinth or our lives, then it all comes to fruition. So allow love to guide you. Let faith keep us strong. And know that whatever you are, wherever you are on your path, you are never far from home. Let's pray it. Let's pray it out. And so in this place, I recognize there is an infinite expression that is unfolding here and now. It is that connection into the divine. It is that connection that allows us to go home. And so with each step that we take, we recognize this guidance in our life. We recognize this light that is shining brightly. We recognize that we too are a part of this one, and that there is truly no time, but yet there is an infinite space for which we are all part of that is here and it is now. And so I speak a blessing into this community, into this center. I know that Reverend Jill is in her absolute perfect place right now, giving her soul that connection with family, and Joe as well, that everybody here today is absolutely in a place of love and connection, that this center is fully divinely expressing itself in every way that it can. And so in that place of absolute gratitude, in that place of just knowing and being thankful for all that has unfolded here today, for that love that brings us home, for all that is. And so I let this be. I release this in universal law that simply says yes. I release it in faith. And together we know this truth by saying, and so it is.